Okay, so we will get started. I would like to welcome you to the session on the call to action on skilling for the energy transition. My name is Michael Renner. I am with the Knowledge Policy and Finance Center of IRENA. Welcome. Before I give the floor to my colleague Sama for the main presentation, I would like to just share a few thoughts to help contextualize the topic that is before us. For many years now, IRENA has been analyzing the socioeconomic dimensions of renewable energy. This includes a variety of topics, annual updates on renewable energy employment. You can see on the slide actually the latest findings. So we see that from 2012, employment has grown from about 7 million jobs to more than 16 million as of 2024. There are analyses of labor needs, in particular renewable energy technologies and opportunities for local value creation. We do modeling of future jobs impacts of a Paris-compliant energy pathway. We have done a series of reports on aspects of gender equity and inclusion. There is now a forthcoming report on considerations of what a just and inclusive energy transition requires. And of course, there is ongoing work on education and skilling strategies and approaches. So this is not just about numbers of jobs, right? It's very much about the quality of jobs. How do we ensure that the skills aspect is being dealt with properly? And so along the different segments of the renewable energy value chains, there's a broad spectrum of occupations and skill sets that are required. And just to give you, I think we all know about this, but just to give you a sampling, there's needs for materials scientists and technology specialists, plumbers and electricians, machinists and engineers, construction workers, sales personnel, planners, administrators, and many, many, many more. The UAE consensus commitment to triple global renewable energy capacity by 2030 is among the factors that will require a fast-growing workforce. But that workforce, of course, does not materialize by itself. It needs very careful planning and policy making to match skills needs with demand, and to avoid skills gaps from either emerging or widening. Hence the initiative that we are here to discuss today. Skilling efforts, and this includes reskilling and upskilling, need to be part of a holistic policy approach that encompasses deployment policies to support the installation of generating capacities, a mix of industrial and trade policy measures to build viable supply chains, labor market measures and regulations, and others. And with this, I will hand over to Sama El-Sayed, my colleague, for the main presentation.
Okay, thank you, Michael. And I also just want to take a moment to welcome you all and thank you for being here for this session on the call to action. So before we get to the meat of the session, which is sharing more about what the call to action is, and some of the institutions that have joined or are committed to joining, we just want to take a moment to give you a bit of background on what we're doing on education and skilling at IRENA. So we really look at education and skills from two sides. On the one side, there's this workforce element. So how do we build the skills and the capacities that are needed for the energy transition? How do we ensure that we address skill shortages and have the people who are ready to be part of this energy transition workforce? But we have another area of work that is a bit broader, and it's on mainstreaming renewable energy education, because there's a realization that all people, not just those who are officially part of a renewable energy workforce, should have some basic knowledge and understanding of renewable energy and climate issues. And so we also have elements of work around mainstreaming, introducing energy education in schools and in curricula as well. And so we have three broad areas that we work on to do this. We have the analysis and guidance, and Michael shared some of the reports that we've been working on in the past around jobs, around gender and women in the workforce, around leveraging local capacities. We now have some new areas of work that we're also focusing on. So right now we're developing guidelines, looking at how do we develop a workforce in Africa. So looking at dimensions related to designing national qualification frameworks, regional qualification frameworks, and we're working in collaboration with the African Energy Commission and Strathmore University on this, who are here today. We have some upcoming work that's looking at the implications of digitalization, and AI on the future of the renewable energy workforce. So what does this digital transition mean in terms of the jobs and skills that will be needed? We actually had a great roundtable around this yesterday with some experts to consult on this topic and to get some inputs. And one of the big things that we're seeing is it's not that jobs are suddenly going to disappear, it's more of a transformation and augmentation of some of the existing roles that are already there. So this is one of the areas we'll be looking at this year. Then we also have a series of activities around curriculum tools and capacity building. So we've been providing curriculum resources and trainings for educators, including primary, secondary, and higher education, as well as community and youth-led education as well. We've been working with partners to deliver trainings and to develop curricula and tools, and some of them are in the room today as well who can share a bit more on this work. We also have a pilot project that's currently running in Uganda, which is on clean cooking in schools and how do we integrate clean cooking education within schools and mobilize students to be change agents within their communities as well. So this is a pilot initiative that we're currently running at the moment. Then, of course, we have the collaboration element and the convening element, and this is why you're all here today, because I think there's a recognition that this problem is too big to address alone, and we need good partnerships. We need to be working with others to really collaborate and address the skill shortages that we're seeing. So we have a number of partnerships that we're building. We're also very actively engaged with the Greening Education Partnership, which is a broader climate education partnership led by UNESCO with Ministries of Education. So Irene actually serves as a co-facilitator within the Greening Curriculum pillar. We also have other initiatives that we'll share a bit more about. And right now we're leading this call to action, which I'll share about in just a moment. But I do just want to take a moment to recognize and thank all of the partners that we've collaborated with, many of whom are around this table today, as well as the governments that have provided voluntary contributions to support our work on education and skilling over the years. So this includes the United Arab Emirates, Denmark, Italy, and Germany. So we're very grateful for the support that has allowed this to be an area of work that is now growing at IRENA. So as I said, one of the things we realize is there are so many different challenges that have to be addressed, and these are just a few examples of skilling issues. So we know that we need to address skill shortages all across the value chain, as well as in the broader enabling environment. We really need efforts to build inclusive talent pipelines and really targeted measures to make sure that women and underrepresented groups are also part of the workforce. We also see that in many countries there are a lot of ad hoc trainings that appear, and it's a hard balance between having nationally recognized qualifications that fit in with a national qualification framework where technicians and others are receiving recognized certifications. But we also recognize this is a long process and it's not something quick to do, and this has to be balanced with emerging needs that are constantly coming up and the need to be a little bit more agile. So there's always this balancing act that we have to have. There's also the issue of workforce mobility, and that people are now moving, or people have always been moving between countries. And so there are issues that we really need to address in terms of how does someone who is trained in one country become able to work elsewhere and have their certifications and their skills be well recognized. And so here we know that international standards and qualification between borders is really important. We also need structured processes to integrate technicians who learned on the job. We know many people do not have formal qualifications. This doesn't mean that they don't have the skills. Maybe they learned on the job, they have the experience to do the role, but in countries where they're now transitioning to formal qualifications, then what happens to these people? So we also need to make sure that there are processes to recognize prior learning and make sure that the people who are skilled are also able to be certified. And we've seen some countries who have good examples around this, and hopefully they'll also touch on this. There's also the digital divide that I mentioned, and as we have this increasingly digitalized energy sector, we know that skilling efforts are really going to be vital for ensuring that countries and communities are not being left behind. So if we don't have the people who are going to develop the digital technologies as well as the people who are going to implement them, then we know that there will be a growing divide. We also have to center educators and make sure that educators, instructors, and trainers are also upskilled, because they're the ones who are going to be implementing and making sure that the future and current generations of energy transition workforce has the skills that they need. And of course, underpinning all of this is the financing dimension. And we really need to have innovative financing mechanisms to support skilling and workforce development. And quite often we focus on investment in technology, and we miss the part about investing in people. So these are a lot of issues, and these aren't the only issues, right? So one of the things we realize is IRENA alone can do a little, but we cannot do much. But I think this is where IRENA's convening power is very important. This is why we're all gathered here today as well. So the call to action on skilling for the energy transition is really a way for us to learn from and leverage the experience, the tools, the expertise that is already out there. And we have a lot of it already in this room, and there's much more going on in your respective countries, your institutions, your networks. And so we are inviting institutions, including government, industry, education and training provider, labor, civil society, and other local and international entities to join the call to action. And you have the QR code here so you can sign up and learn more. As part of a call to action, we invite you to submit some of the measures that your institution is working on. So are there good practices? Are there tools or resources that you have that can be publicly accessible that others can use? Do you have any curricula you can share, any policies that you have implemented that other countries can benefit from, standards that you have developed? So it's really a way to gather all of these good practices under one roof, and then we'll be developing a platform to showcase this, so we can really learn from each other and leverage the expertise that is already out there. We don't constantly have to be reinventing the wheel and doing something new. If someone has already created something, let's see how we can learn from it. And so, as I said, the idea is to really leverage this collective expertise, drive international cooperation, replicate initiatives that have proven to be successful, and really just inspire each other as well, and inspire, learn from one another. So the call to action is also organized around different priority areas. We had a roundtable actually similar to this at the Assembly last year, as well as a series of convenings where we brought together different stakeholders to identify some of the priority actions that we're also calling for as part of this call to action. So many of you contributed to this process. They're organized under 4 main areas, which includes integrating skill development within climate and energy policies, undertaking targeted skill development to address gaps, establishing partnerships and convenings to accelerate workforce development and promote standards, and embedding renewable energy competences into curricula. And so within each of these broad priority areas, we've set a series of more specific measures that we are calling on institutions to implement. And when you fill in the form to join the call to action, you can also tick which of these measures you're already working on, as well as add others. I'm not going to read them all because I want us to have time to discuss with one another, but you can visit the QR code to go through all of the different priority action areas. So as I said, what we're encouraging is that everyone in this room joins the call to action. Many of you have already joined. Those of you who have not, we hope that you will do so, that you will also go back to your respective countries and help us to promote this call to action. Share it with the universities, with the education training providers within your countries, with the other institutions that are working on skilling, including within industry. So join the call to action, share it within your networks, within your countries. Over coming months, we're going to be developing an interactive web platform so that you can view the submissions that have been made. And then this will be a starting point to really facilitate this exchange of tools and practice and resources that you have all contributed. So it's the start of a journey, and we very much hope that all of you will be part of it. And so on that note, I would like to open up for a roundtable discussion. We've invited some speakers already to come and make contributions, and then hopefully there'll be some time at the end so that others can also briefly share what they're working on when it comes to skill development. So on that note, let me first turn to our first speaker, Mr. Isaac Kiva, who is the Secretary for Renewable Energy at the Ministry of Energy in Kenya. Please, Mr. Kiva.
Thank you, Sama. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, it's an honor to be here today as we respond to this call to action on skilling for energy transition for Kenya. Our fight against climate change is about much more than following global mandates. It is a mission to rewrite the future for every household in our country. Our vision is clear and is supported by a comprehensive set of legal, policy, strategic, and fiscal frameworks. These frameworks align national priorities with climate commitments, including Paris Agreement, NDCs, and aim to expand clean energy access, improve energy efficiency, attract investment, and facilitate decarbonization across sectors. They collectively aim to achieve sustainable, reliable, and affordable energy for all while reducing greenhouse gas emissions and fostering economic growth. The Kenya Energy Transition and Investment Plan has set our pathway to achieving net zero by 2050 while driving robust economic growth. Achieving these targets is entirely dependent on having a workforce equipped with the necessary skills and competencies. For Kenya and indeed all Africa, the energy transition is not merely a technical shift, it is also a socio-economic engine. Emerging markets and developing economies are anticipated to account for nearly 80% of growth in energy demand through 2030. This means that many global South countries rely on imports of modules, batteries, electric vehicles, and other components will only rise. The potential for job creation in the renewable sector is immense. We estimate that our transition will require a $600 billion in capital investment by 2050, which could support an additional 500,000 net new jobs in Kenya alone. Across the Africa continent, off-grid renewable alone is estimated to generate upwards of 4.5 million jobs by 2030. These jobs range from the construction of renewable generation assets to maintenance of electric vehicles, charging infrastructure, the development of green hydrogen, battery energy storage. And to capture this, we must build local expertise in smart grids, distributed renewable, and low-carbon technology. Our youth will make a greater proportion of our population, must be at the center of this dialogue. Kenya is already taking concrete steps. We are collaborating with our national partners to build regulatory expertise and also industrialize and facilitate local manufacturing of clean technologies like solar PV and EV assembly. But much more needs to be done. Through this call for action, Kenya commits to integrate skilling and climate education into our national development plans and sector-specific pathways, develop retraining and reskilling programs for workers in transition sectors such as manufacturing and transport to ensure they are absorbed into new green economy, and foster strategic international collaborations to replicate promising initiatives and promote cross-border learning. We must capitalize on this strategic window to implement the structural transformation necessary for sustainable energy future. By aligning our national energy planning with robust investment frameworks, we aim to ensure that our transition to net zero by 2050 delivers enduring socioeconomic dividends and intergenerational equity for all. Driving this transition is like constructing a great tower. While the architects provide the blueprint, It is the skilled hands of the masons that turn vision into realities. So we call upon all to be able to embrace this call for action and make sure that we are able to provide enough skills to drive the energy transition. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kiva, for expressing the support from Kenya for the call to action. And I think Kenya also has some great practices and examples that other countries in the continent can also learn from when it comes to skilling and workforce development as well. So thank you very much. Next, I would like to invite Mr. Noah Raj Dachal, who is the Executive Director of the Alternative Energy Promotion Center in Nepal, for his comments.
Thank you very much. International cooperation in education and skill human resource development in various areas of energy from the bottom to the top level is prerequisite for achieving energy transition goals. I would like to congratulate IRENA and associated partners for launching this very important initiative on call to action on skilling for energy transition. Nepal is pleased to become part of this noble initiative and contribute in whatever possible way to drive the actions forward through collaborative actions. Nepal has followed an approach to introduce various disciplines of energy in formal, non-formal, and informal education, as well as the specialized professional courses and specific technician level courses. Various policies, strategies, and plans have prioritized the education and skill development. Energy as a subject or a field of study has been incorporated at various levels of academic education, right from the basic school to high school and the university level. So at the school level, introduce fundamentals and importance of energy, and at the university level, develop specialized energy courses in various disciplines, including science, engineering, social science, policy, management, and interdisciplinary courses. Likewise, in the vocational and skill development courses, standardized courses have been developed in various fields of energy, following the technical education and vocational training TEVT system. For example, Level 1 and Level 2 courses for solar technicians, Level 1 to Level 4 courses for biogas technicians, TEVT courses for electricians, plumbers, etc. Also, professional courses have been developed and being delivered in collaboration with academic institutions for development of specialized workforce in various disciplines of energy. For example, energy auditors training, energy managers training, solar PV system design engineers training, training on feasibility study and detailed engineering design of solar mini grids, solar rooftops, and solar PV pumping systems, and training of trainers in various fields as per the requirement. At very grassroots level, development of trained technicians through specific courses on specific skills are also being addressed for smooth operation, management, repair, and maintenance of energy systems installed at the household or community level. For example, micro hydropower operators training, micro hydropower managers training, training to the operators of grid-connected micro hydropower, electric cook stove repair and maintenance training, etc. So I just cited some examples that this may be replicable in other parts of the world. So we will be pleased to share our experience with other countries as well as organizations and the international community through various ways. For example, learning, sharing, peer-to-peer exchange, exposure visits, etc. Looking forward to collaborating with you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And again, I think these are some great examples that other countries can learn from, and we can facilitate this peer-to-peer exchange from Nepal's experience. Next, I would like to turn to Mr. Stefano Raimondi, who is the Energy Attaché from the Embassy of Italy in Abu Dhabi.
Thank you. First of all, let me thank you, the organizer, Irina, and the staff for having me. I would like to emphasize the role of the education program within the Italian energy and climate plan. It's an integrated part of the plan, of course. That's why I'm trying to explain very briefly the concept, because we, as Italy and Europe, within the Europe framework, where we invested hundreds of billions of euros in renewing and financing, promoting PV, renewables of building, and renewables also the way we process the industrial production. So as a result, we impose for many of these measures a particular skills and the certification of the promotion of this particular financing. So as a result, in the Italy, for example, we finance also the skills and the preparation, the certification of the industry in order to reduce consumption, so with the same level of production. So it means improve the efficiency. For doing that, we need, of course, the people's skill. And imagine that in Italy and in Europe, there are 4 million enterprise, small and medium enterprise, of course, that we need some help. So the background to achieve this particular result in the industry and the building as well is prepare 1,000 of people able certification of the result that we already get. So this is imagine this is one part of the plan. The second part is the social aspect. Because when we invested during the last 5 years of 140 billion euros in the renovation of the building, it means improve the efficiency of the building. So we create also the passport of the building in order to reduce drastically the consumption of energy, so as reduce the emission. And of course, in the same parts, we need to be certificated to advance these particular advantages. But I would say in a more granular way, the launch of the energy community implies also the creation of the people or certification able to manage this particular issue. So the idea is to create a sort of network, Italian national network, able to manage this particular framework regulatory decree in order to take advantage not only for the big company, the industry, of course, the major consumption, but also at a granular level with less, let's say, area, and internal areas such as the mountains, the up on the hill, not just in the central city. So this is imply also a sort of balance and a gender balance, and this is very important, particularly for the small community. They are, let's say, with the concept of the no less one behind. So that's the give view, just an overview in which the Italian say plan to have different scale. One, as I mentioned before, was the high level scale in terms of a university or high graduate in order to manage the transition. It means also, you know, the robotics, it means also the AI application. That's very useful also in the IT, because in transmission, electrical transmission, and the manage of the granular demand, so supply demand, would be very, very important. So that's and we are very happy also on the international relation and the relation with Irina to create also the program IHAPT that is involved in more than 70 countries and launched in 2023, and give you the basic information to the people, to the consumer, to the citizen, to use properly and sustainable way the energy in order to create the condition to develop an awareness more wide, not just in a single country like Italy or Europe. So I think it's a very important element to have a double vision, country and international. I hope the other country will join this particular initiative. Thank you very much for the time being.
Thank you very much, Stefano, for your remarks and also for the collaboration with Italy on IACT. It's been an exciting initiative to work with young people and peer educators from around the world to support them in advancing climate and renewable energy education in their different countries. Thank you. So next we have Mr. Fahad Al-Wabil, who is a human capacity building expert from the King Abdullah City for Atomic and Renewable Energy.
Thank you so much, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm pleased to share how Saudi Arabia is contributing to the global call to action and its skills in the energy transition. My organization's KCARE, King Abdullah City for Atomic and Renewable Energy, core mandate is human capacity development. We do not see skills as a supporting activity, but as a strategic enabler of the energy transition. Our work is built around a simple but critical question: how do we ensure that people at every stage of life have the right skills to deliver a national renewable energy transformation? To answer this, we designed what we call job journeys. These journeys start from high school and to continue through technical education and higher education and professional trainings and into employment and lifelong learning. For every segment of renewable energy value chain, we ask these fundamental questions: what jobs are needed based on the national demand? What skills and competencies are required for each role? What training and education pathways will actually prepare people for these jobs? This demand-driven approach ensures that our training system are aligned with real labor market needs, whether in project development, manufacturing, installation, operation and maintenance, and grid integration, enabling functions such as policy, finance, and regulation. In parallel, King Abdullah City or KCARE work with the Energy Sector Skills Council in renewable energy in identifying, standardizing, and updating renewable energy skills nationally. Through this process, we work with government, industry, training providers, and employers to define occupational standards, competency framework, and certification pathways, directly supporting international efforts to harmonize skills and improve workforce mobility. Our programs are delivered through three integrated tracks. First, professional upskilling and reskilling for the existing workforce, engineers, technicians, planners, and managers. We provide target programs that allow professionals to transition into renewable energy and in emerging clean energy field. Second track is TVET and vocational training. We work with local providers to develop diploma and technical training pathways that equip technicians with hands-on skills and for installation, operation, maintenance, and manufacturing, critical for building resilient supply chain and local value creation. Third track is higher educational and advanced training. We collaborate with university to embed renewable energy competencies into academic curricula, supporting specialized degrees and strengthening applied research and innovation capacity. Today, we are in the second phase of implementation, and the key milestones of our launch is the National Digital Platform. This platform will map job demand, skills requirement, and available training in one integrated system, supporting learners, employers, and policymakers with real-time data and transport career pathways. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And again, it was very inspiring to hear how Saudi Arabia is going about addressing skill development and making it a central part of your renewable energy activities. So thank you very much. So we've heard a little bit from countries now, and we want to take a step back and hear from some organizations that are working on this at an international scale. So it's my pleasure to invite Ms. Olga Stryaskaya-Lina, who is the head of the Future Skills Unit at the International Labour Organization.
Thank you very much. Let me just start from welcoming the call to action on skilling for the energy transition. The ILO, of course, is very interested to join and to support as much as we can. It's very much in line with the mandate of the ILO on decent work and just transition, including just energy transition. We particularly welcome the nature of the call, where the energy transition targets are linked to the workforce planning. So it's not only technology targets or targets regarding investment capacities, but human-centered approach with really planning, which is embedded into the energy training, the energy planning, sorry. We also welcome this call because it actually recognizes also the role of the private sector employers, but also workers, and supports also the implementation through social dialogue, and emphasizes the international cooperation and skills standards. In our research, we see every now and then, and again, it's confirmed from one piece of research to another, that the biggest problem is the lack of coherence of different policies. Our counterparts are usually ministries of labor, and it's been our target also to make sure that they are included into the dialogue on nationally determined contributions 3.0. And also employers and workers are also part of that dialogue. So I think it would be a very good platform also for us to continue supporting the call to action and bringing in also the perspective of employment into that mix of policies, where energy comes as sometimes a leading partner, but it really requires all that other partners around the table. Just to say a few words on how we can link the initiative, because of course for us it would be important to see the call to action not as a self-standing another call, because there are quite a lot of initiatives and activities now, but as a platform which also supports synergy with other activities, synergy with other calls and programs. So, for example, in the recent COP Belém, there was a discussion under the Priority Action Program of the presidency of the COP, Brazil, where the group in Priority Access 5 on job skills capacity building proposed a plan to accelerate and form the partnership on empowering women and youth. We also support the Green Jobs Youth Pact, which targets specifically youth, provides some diagnostic on the renewable energy transition included, and have a number of useful tools, for example, the recognition of peer learning, on greening TVET system and skills development, on anticipation of skill needs at sectoral level, and then implementation of skills development, reskilling, upskilling at sectoral level together with the sectoral counterparts, and the implementation of quality apprenticeship. We would very much welcome the contributions from other countries and see how we can learn from each other, and we stand ready to support the call to action. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Olga, and I think it's fantastic to have an organization such as the International Labour Organization, with its decades of experience working broadly in this space, also being part of the call to action. So we're excited to work with you on this. Next, I would like to turn to Mr. Romain Boitard, who is a human capital development expert and focal point for green transition at the European Training Foundation.
Excellencies, colleagues, friends. At the European Training Foundation, our job is simple to say but hard to do. We help countries build the human capital that turns the energy transition into real jobs and opportunities. We work at system and policy level with ministries, education providers, social partners, and other international organizations, so that skills strategies are not just written, but implemented and sustained. What we do in practice, we help partners see the labor market clearly and plan the skills it will need tomorrow. We support qualification systems and curricula to keep pace with changing technologies. We strengthen teacher development and assessment, and we bring employers and unions into the conversation so that training leads to decent work. And because transition must be fair, we work to ensure women and young people and vulnerable groups have real pathways to the green economy. We also share EU best practice from apprenticeships, dual learning, qualification framework, micro-credentials, quality assurance, social dialogue, and adapting it to local context through peer learning and practical supports. One concrete example, in Egypt, ETF has supported and shared expertise to set up a sector skill council on energy, giving stakeholders a common table to agree standards and drive training that matches demand. Where we're headed, we will keep doing what works at system level: better skills intelligence, modern portable qualifications, stronger provider leadership and teacher capacity, and partnerships that tie training to real employment. We'll also bring labor market lens on the AI and digitalization so that skilling stays relevant as jobs evolve. We're open for collaboration. ETF is here to partner. If you're a government, an energy employer, a training provider, a union, a youth organization, let's work together to identify the priority occupations, align standards and curricula, and build pathways that people can trust, grounded in EU experience, shaped by your reality. If we match policy with practice and evidence with delivery, the transition won't just be a plan, it will be careers, firms, and communities thriving. ETF stands ready to help you make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, it's great to have the long experience of the European Training Foundation in this area, and having your support for the call to action and the work that you've already done in this space, I think will be a great accelerator for this. So thank you very much. So now we're going to turn to industry. So we have some industry representatives around the table as well. So it'd be great to hear your perspectives on this. So let me start first with Mr. Bruce Douglas, who is the CEO of the Global Renewables Alliance.
Thank you so much, and thank you to Irina for bringing this topic to the table, and thank you to the excellencies, the countries in the room, for being here and prioritizing this critical topic. The GRA, the Global Renewables Alliance, represents not only renewables, of course on the generation side, wind, solar, geothermal, and hydropower, but also storage of all durations, short duration batteries, but also long duration, grids, and green hydrogen. And so in addition to the barriers that we're facing for the energy transition, grid storage, permitting, finance, you know them as well as I do, is jobs. Skilled people to build the renewables and clean energy transition. As mentioned by Irina earlier, currently renewables employs 16 million people around the world, set to increase to 38 million by 2030. That's 8,000 new jobs every day between now and 2030. The gap for those skilled employees is growing, and we urgently need to address that. So for that reason, last year we launched this campaign, Jobs, Security, Growth, and those in this room will be pleased to see the number one word on the list is jobs. Obviously, we're talking about the benefits of renewable energy, creating thousands of new jobs, but also in this room, identifying the huge challenge of training those people necessary to fulfill the targets. Now that's in manufacturing, it's in installation, construction, but also in operation and maintenance across all the technology, as I mentioned. I want to call out one organization, and I think, Jakob, you're going to speak in a second, but just to highlight the great work that you've been doing over the last years. The Global Wind Organization already has trained and certified over 200,000 wind technicians and across the world. And I understand that's now being mirrored in the Global Solar Council as well. I have two priorities within the call for action. Obviously, GRA fully support that call to action. Two things. One is to recognize international standards. By doing so, that allows mobility, employment mobility between countries. And the second is a call to countries to plan ahead, to give visibility within their NDCs and other policy mechanisms on the clarity of the jobs that are required. This, in our belief, creates a win-win-win. So it's a win for the employees, giving them recognized skills and allowing them to move. A win for industry, so our members, to give them access to the skilled staff. And finally, a win for the countries, to give you the ability to quickly get access to the staff and build the renewables. And Romain, I liked your comment about simple to say, not easy to implement. Absolutely agree with that. And I think that's what we'd love to get into discussions with the countries. How do we turn the call to action, into how do we train those skilled employees, the 8,000 people per day that we need between now and 2030. Thanks again to Irina for your leadership. Thank you.
And thank you again for GRA's support to the call to action. It was one of the first institutions to support this discussion, so we're very glad to have you on board. So next, I would like to stay with industry, and I'd like to invite Miss Sonia Dunlop, who is the CEO of the Global Solar Council, for her remarks.
Thank you so much. And yes, we, as the Global Solar Council of the Global Solar PV and Battery Storage Industry Association, and really want to say that we very much support this call to action. Thank you to Irina for putting it together. That we, as employers of 7.2 million people around the world, are very aware that we employ a population the size of a small to medium-sized country, and that we therefore have a real responsibility to ensure that these are quality, well-paid jobs for a very jobs-rich technology, right? Solar is very jobs-rich in installation, and these are often, for many of these 7.2 million, local electricians, local roofers, local construction workers who have decided to upskill to become rooftop solar installers. And these are jobs in every village, in every town, in every city in the world. This is an incredibly distributed global workforce, putting up solar panels, up on roofs, up in solar farms, and of course, installing those batteries too. We know that there are a number of gaps in the global picture for global solar jobs. We know that there is a skills training gap. There is a need to facilitate workforce mobility, as was said in the call to action. There is a need to ensure that projects are being delivered, utility scale projects delivered to sufficient quality, that they perform adequately, that there is a lot of duplication with engineering, performance, and construction companies duplicating each other in the training that they provide, and above all, that we have to keep our people safe. And that is why we, together with GWO, a specialist renewables training provider, have created the Global Solar Training Standard, a brand new global scheme to set global standards for the construction and operation of utility-scale solar PV. We have a technical training standard and a health and safety training standard. And I'm delighted to say that even though it's just been launched, we already have 15 training centers around the world providing these trainings that have already trained hundreds of people. But we need that to become 1,500 training centers, and we have a target of training at least 50,000 people, if not more, by the end of this decade. We are copying the fantastic best practice that has been put in place in the wind industry and adapting that and making sure that we fill this gap in the solar industry, and hope in the future to expand this to the battery storage industry as well, where there are very specific and much very urgent issues in terms of skills and safety and training as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Sonia, and congratulations to the Global Solar Council on these standards. And I think standards and qualification frameworks is really at the heart of what we're trying to promote through this call to action. So we're excited to also help in spreading the word through the call to action on what you're doing. And I think this takes us very well to our next speaker, which is Mr. Jacob Holst, who's the CEO of the Global Wind Organization. Please, Jacob.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak here, and thank you to the previous speakers, especially Bruce and Sonia. You should think I've even paid you to say such nice things about us, which I haven't, but we do collaborate quite closely. So GWO is the industry-led, employer-led scheme in the wind industry to provide skills in a standardized fashion for the global wind technicians population. We do this as a modular system, whereby we set requirements for training centers, so training centers virtually anywhere can set up a shop. We set requirements for instructors, so instructors can be certified anywhere. And then the training can be delivered in all countries so that we have a scalable solution. And that means that we now have a scheme where more than 200,000 wind technicians across the world refresh their skills, their safety skills, and their technical skills in schools in more than 55 countries with more than 650 training outlets out there. The reason we've done this is, of course, of the scaling up challenge, but also it reduces complexity in our projects. So imagine a large utility scale renewable asset. It mobilizes thousands of people, sometimes tens of thousands of people in a short construction phase, and you have dozens, if not hundreds of companies on the same site. So you need to be able to have recognizable skills up and down that supply chain. And with the set of standards that we've created with the employers in wind, we've created that recognizable, trackable, verifiable system of skills. So all technicians will have a training record in a centralized system. It allows duty holders, it allows regulators to see, do they have the skills necessary to work on this project? So that saves a lot of time and money, but it also provides the wind technician with a recognizable skill set, a career, a certificate that he can travel with. And we need that in some of our countries. We do not have enough workforce to do the energy transition. We will have to rely on traveling workforces. So we do that, especially during that mobilization phase. So there are so many good arguments for this scheme that I'm kind of struggling to just say the few things. But what I want to say, though, is I'm hearing from several of the previous speakers that we speak the same language. We understand, job roles can translate into skills needs, can translate into training standards. That bit is not rocket science. The rocket science is the human science of having us all recognize the same kinds of ways of working. So we support fully the call to action, and we support especially the part about international recognition using standards that are already there, and we invite a lot of partners to work with us. By the way, a little bit of a commercial. This is a work we're doing with IRENA, where we are detailing what we have in those 2 pages in the call to action for how it can be done in wind, with case studies from several countries about how countries have done it. So watch out for this space.
Thank you very much, Jacob. And I think the Global Wind Organization is really leading the way in terms of these standards and training frameworks. And so I think there's a lot that we can continue to learn from and work together on. So thank you very much. So now we're going to turn to some regional organizations who have also joined the call to action. So next I'd like to turn to Ms. Radia Saduri, who is the Chief of Energy Department at UNESCO.
Thank you very much, and congratulations to Arena for this work, and happy to join the action. Actually, from our regional perspective, as a regional commissioner of Western Asia, but we deal with the Arab region, is we look at how really, if you are talking about investment, access to finance, actually the real investment is in human capital. How can this enable a sustainable future? In the region, definitively, I think what is lacking from our perspective, the way we do it is that we look at that 40% of the population when they are in the labor force, and more importantly, that 2/3 are from the youth. The other aspect that's the inequality when it comes to the LDCs and countries in conflict, and the other aspect that's the brain drain that we have in the region. So when we speak about access to education, skill and skilling, we don't think it anymore at the national level, but we think it on a regional level. At least we ensure that there is a regional collaboration on terms of scaling. The other aspect as well is the integrated approach. The work that we've done through a study, but at the same time, SQA Skills Monitor, they look at using tools developed using AI and machine learning, looking to analyze real-time data in terms of labor market data, and we come up that looking to more than 4 million jobs posting that we get it over 10 years. And actually, what is the problem? That we found a mismatch between what the market is looking and what we have. But it's more in terms of the value chain, as I indicated in the mineral sector. It's not just about renewables and electricity. And there are other aspects that we look for managers in terms of critical thinking. We look also to innovation. These are aspects that we try to address through projects that we implemented regionally, looking also to those left behind in terms of building the capacity of the technicians, the rural women, but also the entrepreneurs, through implementing small-scale renewable energy technologies, but taking the integrated approach and how to e-learning platform that we put in place, try to adapt to the language that they need, the technical language that they use. The other aspect, as I speak about inequality, education and scaling is not just for those they can afford to have access to education, but also that those who do not have access to education. Some of our initiatives is called Jusur initiative that was launched in 2022. Actually, it helps to have access to those left behind in countries of conflict to LDCs, especially women. We're looking to the engaging private sector to commit and to invest and give access to education, especially at the technical level, but also focusing not just on the installation, but beyond that, looking to the value chain of that link agriculture and water management and others. And I think one of the aspects that we can engage together is really to look at how the different platforms, specifically in terms of education and learning material, if they can be, I would say, accessible to those really who do not have access to education, especially at the technical level. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing the examples. And I think particularly this point you made on inequality and we don't want to widen the divide is really important. So thank you. Thank you very much for your remarks, Radia. Next, I would like to invite Mr. Rashid Abdullah, who is the Executive Director of the African Energy Commission, for his remarks.
Thank you very much. It is a real pleasure to join you today. And I thank International Energy Agency ARENA for convening this important dialogue on the call to the action on skill for energy transition. Africa strongly supports this call to action. For our continent, skill is not an accompanying measure to the energy transition. It is prerequisite for its success. As the global community works towards the tripling renewable energy capacity and doubling the energy efficiency improvement by 2030, the implications for job, skills, and institutional are profound, particularly in the regions where energy access, industrializations, and employment creation must advance together. As the African Energy Commission, AFREC, skill development is embedded as the heart of the Africa Energy Transition agenda. This reflects in Africa Energy Transition Strategy, which provides a continent-wide framework for just, orderly, and Africa-centric transition. one of simultaneously advance decarbonization, energy access, energy security, and socio-economic development. To operationalization this strategy, AFREC is supporting member states in development of national deep decarbonization paths. These pathways goes beyond technology choice and emission trajectory. They explicitly identify the human capital, institutional capacity, and skill ecosystem required across policy, planning, regulation, project development, grid, and emerging technology. In this sense, they serve as the long-term workforce roadmap, aligning with the National Climate Energy Plan, directly echoing the priority of the call of action. AFREC is also implementing a 5-year comprehensive capacity building program to strengthen the capacity across African Union member states, regional economic community, and specialized technical institutions. Let me share with you some tangible milestones that we achieved. First, as AFREC, we develop a gap analysis, a skill gap analysis, where we identify in all African countries what is needed, and we identify 150 areas that people request for training. Second, we are also developing a continental framework for cross-border strategic cooperation in skill sharing, recognizing that skill shortage and labor markets are regional and in nature and require collective solution. Third, we also design the energy capacity building information system like a platform which will underpin skill mapping, data-driven planning, and peer-to-peer learning across the continent, in line with the call to the action emphasis on the improved skill data and partnership. Fourth, in parallel, we develop a targeted practice-oriented training. Currently, more than 100 experts were trained in 2025 on smart grid technology, and over 80 professionals benefited from the continental training on renewable energy project planning, development, and financing. We did it in partnership with Strathmore University. We are very thankful to Strathmore University because this is also part of developing African institutions to train African human capacity, which is directly strengthening the Africa project pipeline and local implementation capacity. This initiative reflects Africa priority within the call to action, integrated skill into the energy planning, addressing real workforce gap across the value chain, strengthening partnership, and ensuring skill translate into the job and delivery on the ground. In closing, AFREC is ready to actively contribute to this call to action by sharing framework, platform, and practical experience that can be scaled globally. We look forward to work with the partner to ensure that energy transition is also transition that creates skill, job, and opportunity for all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rashid, for sharing this great work that AFREC is doing and for your support to the call to action. Next, I would like to turn to Mr. Stefan Major, who is the Head of Infrastructure, Energy, Water and Transport at GIZ.
Yeah. Thank you, Sama. Thanks for having us and also letting us share our view on the topic. Actually, the jobs and skills is already a core of our implementation activities, and we have 40 projects running that directly address green skills and link to renewable energy, energy efficiency, grids, and enabling sectors. And in many partner countries, skills components are now core implementation parts of our energy programs. For example, through technician and operator training, curriculum development, support to TVET institutions, and cooperation with the private sector. And Sama, thanks for your slides because they reflect exactly also the challenges that we see, the skills gap along the whole value chain. Yeah. Shortages in system operations and maintenance, the need for standards. So thanks for Sonia and Global Solar Alliance for these standards, because in all sectors and for all technologies, they are very much needed. And then the limited recognition of informal skills that are built rapidly all over these countries. To address these issues, also GIZ has launched an initiative, the Global Initiative on Jobs and Skills for the New Economy, with international partners, and IRENA and GIZ strongly work on aligning initiative and also your call, and this is a very nice cooperation, and thank you for that. And to close with, we see the role of GIZ, especially in linking these global frameworks with the implementation on the ground, and the cooperation with IRENA on the topic is a very good example for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stefan, for sharing GIZ's efforts, and we're very pleased to cooperate both on the call to action as well as the global initiative from GIZ. So next, I'm pleased to invite Ms. Andrea Balcazar-Gonzalez, who is a program manager for career training at Student Energy.
Thank you, Sama, and thank you, Irina, for the opportunity to be part of this roundtable today. I'm very excited to share about the work that we do at Student Energy. And one of the things that makes me so hopeful at my job is that I get to see every day how young people around the world are channeling their passion and pushing the energy transition forward faster than ever before and with minimal resources. To those of you who are new to Student Energy, we are a global youth-led organization and registered charity empowering the next generation of energy leaders, accelerating the transition toward a sustainable and equitable energy future. As Student Energy, we directly contribute to the call to action priority actions by strengthening education, skill development, and international collaboration for the energy transition. We facilitate meaningful youth engagement and mobilize resources to support youth-led energy solutions by engaging governments, companies, and organizations. Our ecosystem of programs offers youth multiple approaches to learning and diverse opportunities for youth to engage on the energy transition. We're primarily focused on youth training and capacity building and partnerships with public and private sector stakeholders to ensure young people are represented in processes and that we can quickly adapt the energy sector for workforce needs. At a glance, our engagement just in 2025 concluded with more than 60 Student Energy University chapters, presence in 9 global regions, engagement in more than 30 countries, approximately 6,000 chapter members, and over 27 people engaged. We do this through different programs such as the Career Training Program, which I'm honored to directly manage, in which we build leadership and employability skills through energy education, project management training, individualized career coaching, teamwork and collaboration, and experiential learning opportunities with leading energy companies. We also have programs such as the Guided Projects Program, through which we provide youth with the tools, coaching, and funding they need to solve the energy challenges they face in their own communities using proven processes and technologies or by developing new ones. Also, as our International Student Energy Summit, which historically has united more than 4,000 young people over 200 countries, earning our reputation as the world's biggest and most diverse youth engagement event. And this year is not the exception. We are about to have our summit in Brazil in February. We have other programs that I could talk about, but I don't want to take all of the time. But just to close, for the last 16 years, we have worked to develop a unique youth empowerment and engagement model that delivers strong partnerships while helping young people build the skills they need to change the future of energy. We build agents of change who will be actors in accelerating the energy transition, and we create space within existing institutions in the energy system for you to act and shape their energy future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrea. And young people are really at the heart of why we're having these conversations. So seeing so many amazing initiatives that are being developed by young people for young people is incredibly powerful. And we're very pleased to have Student Energy be part of the call to action. So next, I would like to turn to Selco Foundation. So I'd like to invite Mr. Harish Hande, who is the CEO of Selco Foundation, for his remarks.
Hi, thanks so much for giving me this. How do I start? I'm a bit concerned, I tell you, where we were looking at skills 10 years ago, and the way we are looking at is again very non-inclusive, because if I take an example of a poor Swahili lady in rural Tanzania or in Kenya who's brilliant, the way we are speaking, we are going to force her to be a skilled technician. We will not allow or create a platform where she can be a head of an enterprise or create a policy-making consulting agency in Swahili. The way we are speaking, because she's lady, she's poor, she has to be skilled to something else according to, so she can serve all of us. Where are we creating a platform so that, say, it's three things. The climate change has numerous issues 5 years on the line, 2030 and 2035, with increased temperatures. The placement of the labor rooms is going to change. The placement of maternal PHCs in rural areas where there is drought going to change. The way the millet is going to be grown, how do you use solar? The skill sets every 2 years are going to change completely, right? So we need to be defining what is the, so you have ecosystem design, you have program design, then you have project design. Skills is just one part of it. So we are pushing the poor to become only one part of it. And then parallelly, we have entrepreneurs, we have innovators, we have incubators, and then we have colleagues and employees. Again, we are saying that the poor will become only one part of it. So we're basically looking at body chopping, right? So we are looking at 2 billion people to be reversed. So what is happening in the wealth capture, especially in African countries and poorer parts, we are going to have numerous technicians, they're going to do, but all foreign companies actually taking the job, main contracts. So the wealth capture is going to only happen at the larger level rather than the smaller level. So we need to create a plethora of ecosystem where the poor Swahili woman gets a high risk capital for failing to be a failure, so she can either become an innovator or an entrepreneur or a policymaker. If she has a further choice, okay, I will become a technician. Where are we giving that choice? So that's why 10 years ago, we changed our thought process of changing our skills. So converting into innovation and incubation center, you come in, we are casting a net. You want to become an entrepreneur, you want to become an innovator, you want to be a policymaker, then you want to become a technician, great. Give people a choice. What does upskilling means? Upskilling means upskilling people's thought process to give a choice, not that they work for us. So I'm a little concerned about, are we talking of a very small area, pushing people? Are we losing the brilliant potential of innovation and thought process that the 3 billion people in the world have? And that's where I think the next generation of innovations and incubation will happen. Thank you.
Thank you, and I think that's a very powerful comment. And when we look at the call to action, it's definitely broader than only the technicians. It's really saying that we need this entire skilled ecosystem all the way from the people who are installing, doing the operation and the maintenance, but we also need the innovators, the entrepreneurs. We need to reach people who are underrepresented within the energy transition. So it's definitely broader than only the technicians. But thank you for this powerful reminder, because I think it's something that we should all be keeping in mind. So thank you, Harish. So we do have a little bit of time. We have about 10 minutes left. And so I did want to take a moment to allow a few interventions from the floor. If you can keep it each to about 1 minute, that would be great, so we can allow as many as possible. So let's please start.
Thank you very much. My name is Wang Wei from International Atomic Energy Agency. Thank you for organizing this panel, focusing on this skillful workforce for energy transition. So I have been working closely with IRENA from the very beginning when the organization established, and focusing on the energy planning part. So we have done a lot of joint capacity building in the past. We will continue to do that as a kind of a support to this call for action. And also, we also involve this global coalition of energy planning, and within this mechanism, we will continue to support your work. And regarding what has been discussed, I think I also like to highlight that is this competent and scale for workforce need long-term strategy and strong commitment, and also sufficient energy resources. You should not just do this granule for capacity building here or there. You have to really help countries to build up their national level strategy and structure. So that is what we have done for our member states in the nuclear sector. I just want to refer to some examples, cases, how we help our countries. We use some kind of a peer review service for the national organization for education and also nuclear organizations to help them build up their knowledge management system and also some kind of a human resource development strategy at the national level and the organization level. That is very important for the country to sustain themselves for this skillful workforce capacity building. Another thing that is also you have to come up some kind of tailored service, ad hoc service. I would like to mention an example. In order to address the shortage, there's a gap of the gender parity in the nuclear sector. 5 years ago, actual organization launched this Mary Skolova Security Fellowship Program. Actually, this program, each year we support 100 female students to pursue their study in nuclear sector for master degree. At the beginning, when our DG launched this initiative, it's very difficult for people to support that because it's need a lot of commitment and those resources to support because it is purely relying on the extra budget contribution. So without the strong commitment and the support and also a lot of efforts for resource mobilization, it's very difficult to sustain. But we have done a lot and our strong leadership and also support from different stakeholders from countries, private sector, company, and make sure this initiative continue to be implemented in the past 5 years successfully. More than 900 students already get this fund to support their study in the past year. I think that reflects a strong commitment from all the stakeholders to address some specific issues. So I think this example can be used for other organizations and also for the renewable energy sector.
Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing these examples from the nuclear sector, because I think there's a lot of learning we can do between sectors as well. So thank you for sharing this. So we'll take Strathmore and then Professor Bahaj as well.
Thank you very much, Irina, for providing us this platform. I'm very happy to be here and to share some of our experiences. I am the Deputy Vice Chancellor Research and Innovation for Strathmore University in Kenya. Yeah, so one of the things that I would like us to know, perhaps some of you already know, the idea of upskilling for the transition. We have IBM. They have realized that today 12.5% of the population of Kenya or Africa, 12.5% are Africans. So what they say, why not to create a platform for training these people? Because in 2040, if the trend of birth rate continues, they will be 25% of the population of the planet. So IBM created a platform called the Skill Build. It is for free. If you are an African, you register for free, you sit the exams for free, you get your certificate, accreditation, badges for free. So what we did is we encouraged, as a university, our students to take up some of these things. And then they went. We have more than 500 people in Strathmore University studying for free and then being able to be coached and etc. So these are very nice things that we should know and disseminate as we work as a group. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing this example. I think this is exactly why we have the call to action. There are so many different platforms, initiatives already out there, and it's not necessarily that we need to create new ones. We just need to raise awareness and draw attention to what is already happening around the world. So thank you for sharing this. Next, I'll invite Professor Bahaj from Southampton.
Thanks very much for Irina for allowing us to have this intervention. I would say, as we mentioned yesterday, that transitioning energy systems is a really disruptor. that require more skills and different skills in addition to what we have skills now here in relation to energy delivery. So it will need different skills and levels that are from high school up to universities. And those levels should include social as well as economic, so that we make sure that no one is left behind. I would also indicate that such skilling should not be seen as a developed in a developing country issue. It is really a people and climate issue which is needed globally. I would say for us from the UK, we need about 400,000 people in skills for our transition to renewables or low carbon. And that skilling will be required, which may need engineers not only from the UK, but also from somewhere else. So the brain drain is also an issue that we need to think about. Thank you very much.
Thank you for this intervention. And I think this brain drain issue is really a big one. And I think we could have a whole session just talking about migration of people between countries and workforce migration, labor migration. What are the implications of this? Maybe next assembly. So thank you very much. Were there any additional interventions that I missed? Anyone else would like to say anything? Okay, so we'll be closing right on time, which is always a win. But I did also just want to remind, I think most of the people around this table have already joined the call to action, but if your institution hasn't yet, we do encourage you to do so. Also, once you go back to your countries, please share this within your networks, within other institutions that are working in the space within your countries. I do also just want to highlight that we have other institutions that have joined the call to action who are not here today, and I just want to mention a few of them. We have the Renewables Energy Academy, for example. RENAC has joined the call to action, and they're doing a lot with online trainings and different training modules that they're willing to make available. We have a number of training institutions and universities from around the world that have also contributed their measures. A number of national and local organizations that are working on different aspects locally on skilling and education who have joined this call to action. The IFC joined and they shared some measures around supporting women's access to jobs and entrepreneurship in Africa under Mission 300. So I think we have some really exciting initiatives that have already signed up, but as I said, this is just the start, and we hope that everyone in this room will be joining if you have not yet, and that you're also going to be ambassadors for us for this call to action and encourage other institutions to join. So we really look forward to continuing to work with you all on this effort. And now I'd like to hand over to Michael to please close the session.
Thank you so much, Summer. As you say, I think this meeting is coming to an end, but I think it's really just the beginning of an ongoing process. And I would like to thank all these speakers for their really inspiring and informative interventions. That was really great to hear. And particularly, a big thank you and appreciation to you, Summer, for not just organizing this session, but really moderating it in an expert way and just keeping us really focused on what's important. So I'd like to invite you all to give a round of applause. Thank you so much.
Maybe we can have a group still here, yes? Okay, so please everyone come up to the front.